Life.
What's up, YouTube? It's your girl Dee Dee. Welcome back to the channel. Thank y'all so much for tuning in once again. So your girl is back with another reaction video. Now we have another modern woman who is crying over the fact that she cannot afford her divorce. So we're seeing an uptick of women who probably file for the divorces, crying that they can't afford it. And, you know, it's almost like they're regretting their decisions. But I think this is very interesting and very telling how women make irrational decisions and then they regret it because they don't think about the consequences of their choices. Now, I'm not saying that every woman who decides to divorce her husband isn't divorcing with realistic reasons, but what we see, the majority of a lot of women are leaving their husbands because they think they can do better, or, you know, they just outgrew the relationships and they want to move on. But what we find out is they still want to depend on the husband's resources. And that's something that I think women have to consider or prepare for. If you know you're not happy in your marriage and you just are going to leave, then you need to make sure you are prepared for the consequences that are associated with you leaving. So we're going to get into this video. I want y'all to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Comment, like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on that notification bell to be notified when I upload new content, and definitely chime in. I want to hear your thoughts on this particular video. But let's get into it. Here we go.
I'm sad because my divorce lawyer requested another $4K, and like I think in the past year and a half I spent like $25,000, and it's not easy. Like my ex keeps like prolonging this divorce because he wants my dad to sell his house so he can get money from it. Like the whole custody plan and everything is like all set and done, and it just sucks because I'm like a single mom and I work my ass off, and I don't like, it's not like that guy gives me child support. It's not like he even offers to buy a diaper box or a box of milk for my son, even though that's his son too. He only messages us on the days that he gets to have use, which is like once every Sunday, every other week. Other than that, it goes like no contact, no how is our son, no nothing. It's like me raising our kid by myself, and to like work my ass off and like pay another $4,000 just to like have this divorce somewhat be finished. It's so hard. Not only is divorce emotionally draining, it's also financially draining. And I feel like I wish like the court system like had a thing for people who was like bullshitting around and would just go straight to the point, because my ex is like trying to do his best to prolong this and juice this, even though he gets like literally nothing out of it. Divorce sucks. This is the reality, and now I have to suck it up and go downstairs with a smile and act like not fucking sad. Wish me luck.
Question that I'm always getting asked as a Texas family law attorney is, how much is my divorce going to cost me? Now, a lot of family law attorneys, including myself, charge per hour. So how much a divorce is going to cost you is going to be contingent on the fact of how many hours I have to put into your case. For example, I just got out of court to finalize what we call an uncontested divorce, meaning that nothing was fought out in this divorce. The decree to their divorce was signed by both the parties and they were in agreement of everything. They had already resolved how the property was going to be divided. Other couples, if they have kids, they'll figure out what the custody schedule is going to look like, child support agreements, etc., etc. So in that case, because they don't need attorneys negotiating what they want for them and they're able to resolve the issues on their own, the divorce was so affordable. And that's going to be the difference maker between a $3,000 divorce and a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $50,000 divorce.
The most expensive divorce you've ever seen or been involved in?
Got paid $3 million from one of my clients over the course of 4 years. That's the most expensive one I've ever personally been involved in. The other side in that case paid $5 million across 4 law firms, kept picking them off one at a time. And every time she would get a negative outcome, she would fire her lawyers and hire new ones. I was on it from the beginning all the way to the end. She spent $5 million. My client spent $3 million, plus another $1 million or so each in expert fees. It was, by the time it was all said and done, about a $12 million divorce.
How it feels being in love with someone where they don't do anything wrong, but they also don't love the way that you want to be loved. Someone was asking me about that. You know, it's confusing because there's no big problem to point to, right? They're kind. They show up. They don't hurt you on purpose. So you keep asking yourself, why do I still feel lonely? You start shrinking your needs. You tell yourself you're asking for too much. You explain away the ache because technically they're a good person, but love isn't just about intentions. Love is about impact. And when you keep leaving conversations feeling unseen, unchosen, or emotionally hungry, yeah, that matters. You're not ungrateful for wanting more. You're not dramatic for needing affection and consistency or reassurance in the way your heart understands it. Sometimes the truth is this: they love you the best way they know how. And you need to be loved the way you actually feel it. At least some people do. That doesn't make either of you bad. It just makes you honest. And honesty is where clarity begins.
Now, listen. I think that the problem with a lot of women and the reason why a lot of women tend to walk away from their husbands and their marriages is because of their feelings. Women are a ball of feelings and emotions. We know this. But you have to learn how to regulate those emotions and feelings and when to display them, because every emotion and feeling that you have doesn't need a reaction or a response. And I think a lot of women are moving in this way, and they end up regretting certain decisions because they realize once they've made the poor choice that it was all based on a feeling and it wasn't a move that they should have made. And this relates to any type of decisions that women make when it comes to leaving their husbands off of a feeling, making irrational decisions based on their feelings that would later impact their lives in a negative way, but they don't know how to own up to that or acknowledge it. They just want to blame somebody else because they don't realize that, it's like they realize it, but at the same time, you don't want to accept that. And so what this woman in the end was saying was, basically you're looking for something that you yourself cannot give. You're looking for a man to acquiesce to your feelings 100% of the time, but you are not able to do that for him. Although we are emotional and emotional creatures and we move with our emotions and our feelings, we're not very sensitive to the feelings of men. We only understand emotions and feelings when we want people to give them to us, but we're not emotional and in our feelings when it comes to giving that type of emotional love to a man. You only expect it, but you don't know how to give it. And you can understand when it's not being given to you in the way that you think you should get it or the way that you should feel it, but you don't even know how to exemplify those feelings or exude those feelings when it's directed to a man. That's the part I don't understand. When you're talking about, a man needs to love you the way you feel it, I don't think you can wrap that up into one way, because I don't even know if that is even possible. Because with women, your feelings change. You feel different ways. And if a man had to do that with you all day, that would be an emotional roller coaster. He would be an emotional wreck, trying to keep up with your feelings on a daily basis of when to do. There would be no set way of pleasing you. If he has to change like the wind based on your feelings, that I don't think anybody is capable of doing that. So this is why women are never happy or never satisfied, because your emotions change and you want somebody to go back and forth. One thing is this way one moment and then it changes. You want him to do this way, do something a certain way this time, and then it changes. And he has to be able to jump and go with your feelings to make sure you're happy all the time. That, y'all know how draining that would be? Oh my God. Are you looking for a man or are you looking for a psychopath? Because that's what that would create. And I don't think any man in their right mind would be able to keep up with that and would be able to adjust every time something changes. I don't think that is rational thinking. And so this lends itself to how women move when it comes to divorce, because a lot of women are walking away. We know women are the ones who initiate the divorces more than men, because they move away. If a man is not making them feel a certain way all the time, they take that as a sign that they need to walk away. And then when they walk away, once again, you don't look at the full picture. You don't think about, damn, I got a good man here. He's not perfect and you're not perfect. There's some things I like that he does, some things I don't like that he does. But overall, he's a good man. He's supportive. He's doing what he needs to do to protect and provide for our family. What else do you want? All of that other stuff is not really important. But a lot of women put so much importance on their feelings, and they look over the fact that they have a good person here, and they don't think about, if you walk away, you may not find somebody as good as he is. Oh my God. And this thing that you're chasing as it relates to how you feel is unattainable. That your feelings do not produce what you're feeling all the time. And by the time they realize that they're single, they're divorced, they're by themselves, struggling, you forego a good man who is a responsible man who's there, present for your feelings. And then when you do that, you don't add up the cost. Now you're crying about the divorce, how much it costs. And now you're thinking about your future because now you realize beyond the divorce, now you are responsible for everything 100% of the time. You are solely responsible for your livelihood now. That it's going to cost you. You had a supportive man there. He wasn't perfect, but you looked over that and you thought, oh my God, there's so much more out there. And so I think divorce becomes real for people when they realize how expensive it is, what you got to pay. You can't depend on him now fully. You can't depend on his finances because you walked away from that. And then they become depressed instantly. And then they start to reflect on the choices that they've made. And even though they realize it probably was a bad decision, you got to stay strong and you got to be this strong, woman for yourself and your kids now, even though you realize you made a poor decision. But somehow it's going to be his fault and it's all on him. But now this is what creates these bitter single women who now are out here struggling by themselves, but they don't see, they don't see that they had a major part to play in their outcome. Now, I'm not saying every marriage is perfect and every person who files for divorce doesn't have reasonable, logical reasons as to why they're doing it. But what we see the majority of the time is that women, it's irreconcilable differences. It's, oh, I can do better. Oh, I woke up one morning and I felt like I deserve more. And all of these types of things. We rarely see women come on these social media apps and say, really display a legitimate reasoning behind them walking away from their families and their husbands. I know it exists, but that's not what we see. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, because once again, y'all know how I feel. Listen, if there are legitimate reasons to walk away, if you got an abusive man and he's just, abusive and you got to get out of that situation, totally understood. There may be some other logical reasoning behind women walking away. And when I hear that, I can accept that and understand it because I don't condone that. But the majority of what we hear is not that, is what I'm saying. And so instead of figuring out ways to work on your differences and work on your marriage, a lot of women are empowered to walk away and they're empowered to leave. But then they realize, dang it, these resources from my husband that I'm walking away from, it doesn't apply once I leave. But I was dependent upon that and I've had that support my entire life, but now I don't have it. So now they realize, oh, it's not as easy as you thought. You didn't calculate the cost. And so they become depressed. And a lot of these women who walk away, they end up not really finding what they were looking for still. They're still at a deficit. They're still running around clueless and bitter because they're not finding a man who, it's like you realize you had something good, but you didn't appreciate it. And you realize you can't find anything better. That's what tends to happen. The majority of women who walk away from their marriages usually struggle in relationships afterwards, but the men who they divorce are usually in another relationship or usually remarry quicker than the women. That's what I've seen. But, it's just a cycle that's, being repeated over and over and over. And a lot of women are still blaming the men for it. But they don't realize that they put themselves in those positions, thinking that the grass is always green on the other side and that they'll somehow just find this man who's in tune with all of their feelings and move the way they want them to move at all times. And more than likely, they don't find that type of man. So I just think women have to realize what you have. Not saying that you need to stay in an abusive, horrible relationship with a man. No, if it's jeopardizing your livelihood and the livelihood of your kids, then you need to move on for your safety and the safety of your kids. But that is not the majority of what we're seeing. And that is not the majority of why so many women walk away from their husbands. But listen, I want to hear your thoughts on this one. Comment, like, subscribe to the channel. Chime in. I want to hear what you have to say about this topic. Make sure you share and like the video, y'all. Let me know what you think, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.
DeeDeesReactions. Tell a friend.